There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 4489.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The member from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members, for supporting allowing this legislation to come before us today. I wanted to give you all a little background of how this came about because things happen quite quickly. It came about because restaurants and bar owners came forward with an idea and worked hard with House and Senate members, with the governor's office to create this proposal that's before you today. The Commerce Committee held an informational hearing yesterday and heard from stakeholders, and members had a chance to ask questions about the bill as well. I want to emphasize that this is a bipartisan effort. And it was the result of a lot of creative work and many long and late night phone calls. I want to thank just a few people who made this happen. My counterpart in the other body, Chair Dames, our Commerce GOP lead, Representative O'Driscoll, Representative Koznick, who worked hard to get the restaurant proposal in front of all of us. And I also want to recognize staff who is working hard under these very unusual circumstances. The House nonpartisan research staff who gives us tremendous advice. The Revisor's Office who is working very hard during some very challenging times, working remotely. And of course, our partisan caucus staff, Travis Reese, Chelsea Olson, and Tim Bowl over in the Senate. Thanks for all everybody did to keep this moving. I also want to thank Governor Walz for his leadership and support to make sure that we could move swiftly and that that he will be willing to sign this bill and put it into law as soon as we're able to pass it off the floor here. So thank you, everybody.
Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Jobs, jobs, and jobs. That's what we're dealing with today, and that's really what this bill is about. Let this bill be the touchstone that ignites and sparks a reopening of more and more Minnesota businesses. And I want to thank the body for moving so quickly to take action, especially Chair Halverson, who I credit with ushering and ensuring and working with me to get this bill from introduction for a vote today. And thank you to Chair O'Driscoll for leading and guiding the work through the committee. Our colleagues down the hall, Senator Housley, Chair Dames, took the idea and refined a few details, but understood the urgency to provide some relief for many Minnesota families and businesses. Thank you all for your hard work to get this done over the past 5 days. As Ronald Reagan believed, there is no limit to the amount of good work that can be done if you don't care who takes credit. And members, this is a bipartisan bill that will help restaurants that are struggling as a result of the executive orders that closed on-premise dining rooms and shuttered their availability to sell wine, beer, and liquor. Sometimes they generate as much as 50% of their revenues. This is a temporary and common sense change that gives local establishments the flexibility that they need to convert existing inventory into revenue and stay afloat, while providing more immediate solutions than cash flow than waiting for a loan to be approved. And with that, we'll turn it over for members that have questions.
The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I did have an amendment, and it's fine. I was going to withdraw it anyway upon speaking about it. But members, if you follow me on social media, and I know some of you do, and I know the Speaker has liked a couple of the posts that I've made, I have been making a habit of going around to a lot of the restaurants in my district, and I do a little selfie video. And I try to encourage people in my district to get out and shop and buy some food. And it's been good, and I'll share one example with you. In this tiny city of New Germany, Minnesota, I went for what's called Bologna Wednesday at a place called Jaime's Place. Population 500 and something, and the fact that I showed up garnered about 3,800 views of that video on social media, and it's been super popular. And I bring that up for this reason. What we do here and what we do in our district as leaders makes a difference. And I appreciate this bill very much, Chair Halverson. And you know that I had hoped that we could do some stuff for the distilled spirits people, some of whom make pre-packaged cocktails. And I had hoped that we'd been able to do that. But I did speak with the chair, and I know that we will maybe be able to work on some help for them as well. But back to Jaime's Place and some of the other restaurants. Most of those videos that I have done have not been Hollywood production quality, if you've watched. And some of them are the second take that I post, because some of the folks break down in tears. So I usually get the restaurant owners to come out and we'll be socially distanced and I'll do the video. A couple of times the owners have broken down in tears, and one of them said this: Representative Nash, you're the first person from the, and I'm doing air quotes for those at home, from the state who has shown up and shown interest. Thank you for remembering us. Thank you for remembering us, members. This bill is a way to say thank you for remembering us, but we have a lot to do still. We have a long way to go. And the restaurants in your district appreciate everything that you can do for them, and I know that they will appreciate this as well. And all the members here in the chamber, all I think 13 or 14 of us, or whatever there is, are taking this seriously. I'm sure this is going to be a huge bipartisan effort. I'm grateful that we're able to do this. But members, we have a long way to go. I hope that we can find ways to get other businesses some help as well. And I know the governor released some information today of businesses that are going to be opening up, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you, Governor Walz. But there are a lot of other Main Street, Minnesota businesses that need our help too. And if we can find a way to do the same bipartisan type of work that we've done on this bill for others who can do retail curbside without interacting with the public, I hope that we can work on that as well. There's a lot of them in each of our district, in Main Street, Minnesota, who are calling all of us. Every single day, I get hundreds of emails and text messages and Facebook messages saying, please help. Do anything that you can to help. Let the governor know, let the leaders know that we need their assistance. Folks, I will tell you that Minnesotans are very resilient, they're hardworking, they're creative. We've found all kinds of solutions, and we've seen it on the news, and I'll share a couple of stories from my district. There's a company called Lakeview Industries that went from making 0 things that were PPE to making 2.5 million plastic face shields a week. I was able to help them, introduce them to some people, and they're providing that important PPE now. I want to share the story about J. Carver Distillery, who makes alcohol in distilled spirits, and at the owner's expense, with not selling any of it at all, they have made thousands of bottles of hand sanitizer. They're good Minnesotans. They're rolling up their sleeves. They're doing what they can to help. And Jay Carver hasn't charged a dime for it. They've given it away to first responders. They've given it away to hospitals. But folks, people on Main Street are looking to us to help. And I'm glad that we all are. I mean, I know that we take this seriously. I follow all of us on social media, and I know that you take it very, very seriously. But there are other businesses that need some of the creativity that we've shown here, and I hope that we can either hopefully get out of this or come up with some other bills that we can say to them, to the small mom and pop shops that sell retail that could deliver it to the sidewalk with no interaction, that we're listening to you and we're here to help. One of my favorite movies of all times is Field of Dreams. And if you listen to Ray tell his daughter to watch Shoeless Joe Jackson in the field and how they set up with their feet, because Shoeless Joe knew from the way the pitcher was going to throw the ball where the hitter was going to hit. Shoeless Joe was waiting and watching and knowing how that ball and how that next play was going to go. Please, folks, let's be like Shoeless Joe. Let's try to set up and let's anticipate that next need, because people on Main Street, Minnesota are depending on us. And you've heard me say before, many of these business owners would mortgage the dog if they had to stay alive. And I'll tell you, when, when a business owner breaks down in front of you, some of these people are bigger than me, big, burly people who have been an absolute rock in the community for years. But when they break down, we're all breaking down. So let's help these business owners out. And remember the line that I told you from the business owner: thank you for remembering us. Thank you.
Discussion. Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and a few members in the chamber today. Before everybody gets too excited and patting themselves on the back for helping restaurants with this bill, understand that the pain that the restaurants are feeling right now is because government has done this to them. Government has told them that they can't sell alcohol, that they can't have people in the restaurant, that they can't open up their outdoor patios that have tables that meet the social distancing guidelines, so that a family where the members don't have to socially distance because they live with each other can't come in and sit at a table together to have dinner and drinks. We've told them they can't. The government has told them they can't. And on Tuesday of this week, we had the opportunity to give back the freedom to restaurant owners to use their ingenuity and their options to provide safety for people that want to visit them. And this chamber voted no to give them their freedom. We have taken everything from restaurant owners and we're giving them this little mediocre provision that municipalities don't have to allow. The cities ultimately can control whether bars and restaurants can allow takeout. And these are cans of beer or bottles of wine. There's a lot of breweries, over 100 breweries in Minnesota that are trying to survive. Many of them just started up in the last couple of years. They're trying to sell growlers at curbside, and now we're allowing, people going into town, they're buying takeout at a restaurant, they're going to breweries and getting a growler to go, or a crawler, a half growler. And now the bars and restaurants are going to sell cans of beer instead of the breweries. We're shifting those sales. This is not a solution. It's painful that we think this is a great thing to do, and we're going to go out on social media and promote that we're fixing this problem for restaurants, and we're not. This is not enough. They need to be able to open. Their big patios and decks where they can have tables separated by great distance should be allowed to open. We need to give people their freedom back. I'm going to vote for this bill because it's something. But don't congratulate yourselves on doing such great work for these bars and restaurants. This is not going to save them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker. I want to echo the sentiments of Representative Nash and Munson. I, too, was one of those who supported the resolution on Tuesday to bring an end to this peacetime emergency, because I believe that there are very viable alternatives that we as a legislative branch can and should have our say in what's happening. And I am going to support this bill because it is something. It is going to do something. It's better than nothing, but it's not good enough. And I wanted to read a few of the emails that I've received of the hundreds of emails, texts, social media posts, and even snail mail that I continue to receive, because I have not forgotten the other business owners. As a small business owner, as a self-employed person myself, I very much understand the devastating impact that this is having on business owners. So here's one such email I received. I've written you recently that we are in a recovery this year, and last fall we booked fundraising business for middle and high school with our value and quality solution into 2020 that we should have recovered us. This is a business that sells a product that also is able to use that product for fundraising in the schools. And it goes on. But it was canceled in process and in future, so we are, quote, out of business. I've never felt so despondent. I'm normally not this way. This is crushing this and many business owners in my district and across the state. This business owner goes on. We counted our accounts tonight, and we have $43 left to our name. No other assets, no resources. We were recovering from business loss and invested our reserves last year for this, and it got pulled out from underneath us. We are not irresponsible. My heart breaks for this business owner. Here's another. I'm sending this email to urge you to vote in favor of stripping Governor Walz of his emergency powers. Walz's orders, which clearly continue to be extended, are not well thought out and equitable across the board, and is putting our business and others in jeopardy. Although big box stores are allowed for in-store browsing, I'm not even asking for that. If our family could at least do curbside pickup, it would help reduce the financial strain on our business. It's beyond my comprehension how a business that sells plastic models, educational supplies, toys, games, puzzles, and other activities is not able to do curbside pickup, but we have curbside pickup of prepared food, which is a higher risk item than what we sell. Our family cannot sustain our business like this. Our expenses as a brick and mortar store are set up such that online sales cannot support us. I strongly believe that if we had common sense of more people making decisions, rather than just the governor, things would look different for how we're allowed to operate than they do now. And there's a lot more, but I'll stop with that one. And then I literally just received this email as I was sitting here. So this is within the last 15 minutes. Dear Representative Lucero, I am contacting you about reopening Minnesota for business. I'm a small town where businesses are suffering through this closure and will not be able to reopen if this closure lasts another month. The people of Minnesota are ready to return to work and get our economy going again. I saw that yesterday Governor Walz partnered with several other states in the Midwest. I would ask that you look at our state differently than that of Illinois, Kentucky, and Wisconsin. The numbers projected in our state are showing that we are ready to reopen. I will also be reaching out to Congressman Emmer and Governor Walz about reopening Minnesota for business again. Thank you. Members, this is just heartbreaking. It's crushing. And I know that there are many business owners that are not going to make it through this. And you can't just flip on a light switch after this and expect things to return to normal. It's going to be a gradual returning. And there are many hardworking Minnesotans that have poured their life into their business that are not going to make it through. So this is definitely helping, this bill before us, but we can and should do so much more. One of the things that's very frustrating to me is that we as the legislative branch are in session. There could be a conversation right now between the executive branch and the legislative branch, co-equal branches of government, and we could pass legislation. But instead, what's happening is the executive branch is creating policy with his executive orders. That's the role of the legislative branch. And we are here and could, in cooperation with him, discuss and pass legislation that allows us, the House of Representatives, the closest body to the people. We are closest to the people of Minnesota. And our voices right now are not part of the conversation that's taking place at the executive branch creating law with these executive orders. So members, I just say all this to put forward that we need to keep in mind that there are other solutions that we should be considering and that there are other businesses out there that are screaming for help. This, on the heels of what I learned yesterday, I'm sure you probably saw the announcements that the small business loans, I think there were 2 different funds, were exhausted. They're exhausted. And there are many businesses out there, small businesses, that were not recipients of any of those funds. What are they to do? Minnesotans are very good at coming up with inventive solutions, and I want to empower our small business owners to be able to operate in accordance with CDC guidelines and still be able to have their livelihoods. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative McDonald.
Thank you,
Please.
Madam Speaker.
Please occupy the seat that you are assigned with the safety plan.
Very good, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wasn't sure if this mic worked, so but thank you. I rise with a message to our governor, Governor Walz, from folks in my district. But first, I just want to quickly read a text that I just received from a friend and constituent in Delano. It said, "Dear Joe, I figured out a way to get all of the women in Minnesota to love you. Open nail salons. They all wear masks. They all wear gloves anyway, and they can limit the number of people scheduled and the customers who also can wear gloves and masks." And although that's a little tongue-in-cheek, she was serious. So too are all the other businesses in Main Street, and I'm one of them. My business is shut down amongst many, and I hope that we'll survive. My father started McDonald's Studio in 1956, and I continued it on, opened up my own studio in 1988 on Main Street of Delano. And in town, there's our butcher shops who are fortunately doing well, but our restaurants are not, our salons are not, our other businesses are not, the flower shops, and so many people in Wright County, like all over the state and all over the country. And we understand that. And I know the governor of our state is very sympathetic to that. But I'm not sure if he's hearing at least those folks who are emailing and texting and social media me to give a report or at least get to the governor a message that they need to be open for business. And we certainly recognize and understand the safety issues. If it's okay to go to a grocery store, to a liquor store, to a Target or big box, Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, it's certainly okay to go to a small retail business. We Minnesotans do follow the rules. That is evident as to why our numbers are down, and we lead the nation in safety in our numbers because we take this seriously. We are hard workers. We're sincere. We're compassionate. We're gentle. We care. It is very evident because of those things in which I mentioned that our numbers are down. But folks, Governor Walz, the people of Minnesota, people are going out to get the necessities. They're going to your Menards. We're going to Target. We're going to get toilet paper when you can. I don't know about you, but I've hit in about 6 different places and 0 on all of them. That's going to be another emergency, but we'll deal with that later. But if those can be open, folks, Governor Wells, if those can be open, then so too can a small mom-and-pop retail place that is being closed down and simply probably won't open if it's not open in 2 weeks. I am concerned, and so is many of my folks in my district, that the governor has partnered with the states that he mentioned yesterday, and not our states, bordering states of South Dakota and North Dakota and Iowa, who are equally, like Minnesotans, very careful and keeping the COVID numbers down, and those be infected. Instead, he chose to partner with Michigan. Have you heard what Michigan's doing? You can't even go out and get a gallon of paint or lawn seed. You can't take a boat out unless it's no motor. You can't put flowers down. You can't mow your lawn. And we're going to partner with them and Illinois and Kentucky and Ohio and Indiana, whose numbers are a lot more higher than Minnesota as far as those infected, of those who have recovered, and those who have passed away. Skyrockets compared to Minnesota. So, Governor Wells, we're really concerned, not just me, but my folks in my district concerned why you chose to partner with them and not some of our good friends in Iowa, North Dakota, and South Dakota who seem to be doing just like Minnesotans. We're doing it right. I want to address something for outdoor activity that I think perhaps the governor is maybe considered, but will please consider this. Yesterday, President Trump announced 4 phases to open up and get our economy back. One of the first phases was health clubs. Glory be to God, I was certainly happy to hear that. Because if we don't take care of our physical condition and our mental condition, we know what's going to happen. We know, and I certainly won't quote the numbers, we know the folks that are home who are going through mental crisis, financial crisis, abuse, alcohol abuse, children's abuse, families that don't have a good quality of life, that are struggling already with domestic violence, and they're locked up. But if we can get outside and be happy, that's another thing. There's the doctors say, Dr. Fauci and many others say, we need to stay healthy, exercise. We need to get outside, use trails. Thank you, Governor Wells. I think today he's going to announce that we'll be able to use trails. We need to stay happy and healthy. If we can open up our facilities, our exercise facilities, our gyms, that's going to be huge. And we can still practice safe distancing, social distancing, CDC's guidelines. To think that we wouldn't is really an insult. And I know, Governor Wells, you don't think that we wouldn't, because we've demonstrated for a month now that we can do it and achieve it. But I want to speak on behalf of CrossFit gyms, particularly. A CrossFit gym in Delano, and many, all over the state, but the gym I've been working out for 10 years, Alan and Renee Wisbrocker, CoreFit in Motion. They have a 12,000 square foot building. Their classes are usually around 10 to 12 people. Oftentimes, we don't even share equipment. It's burpees and sit-ups and super planks and jumping jacks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when it's nice, we do it outside. Now, fortunately, through the technology, we've been doing Zoom with kettlebells. My wife's not too happy when I drop that on the living room floor. It's a 35-pound weight. It's not good, but it keeps me healthy, it keeps me happy, and it keeps me safe. So, Governor Walz, if you would please consider, and certainly we will be patient till May 4th, but if you follow Wisconsin's and Michigan's and the other states that you align yourself to close off Minnesota till May 24th, it's going to be even more difficult, and I know you know that. I don't think we can sustain that. But consider the CoreFit gyms, the kettlebells gyms, those gyms that, as I mentioned, have 1,000 square feet, 10 people, and even outside in parking lots. I won't make this too long because I know there's others who wants to speak. When this first came down in March, and the governor shelter at home and closed businesses, we are all on board for the most part. We want people to be safe. But as we continue to go on, if we thought even going past May 4th and going to May 24th, that is almost an impossibility of survival for many businesses, and mine included. At first, my family and I thought, well, we can get through this, right? We got faith in God. We got a little money in the bank, not much. We got some money coming in thanks to this job, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that, because there's no money coming in from my studio. Everything's been shut down. First communions, dance lines, sport team photos, everything. We've lost a lot of business, much like everybody else, so I'm not trying to have pity or anything. But so we have enough money to buy bread and wine, lots of wine lately, I don't know why. Cheap wine, of course. Not the wine that this bill will do, and I do support the bill, because I will buy a bottle of wine at our local restaurants when I pick up to go, but they are expensive. You know, a good bottle of wine at a restaurant is $30, $40, maybe $25. And occasionally I'll do that, but mostly likely at the liquor store. So therefore, this bill is great, it'll help, and I think folks like myself will just buy it because we want to help our restaurants, because they make good margins on alcohol. But I thought, in closing, you'll be happy to hear, it reminded me that we can get through this, because in the city of Rotterdam in World War II, the Nazis and the Luftwaffe completely decimated that city in 1940. Just decimated it. Blitzkrieg. It wasn't called Blitzkrieg, it was called Luftwaffe. And yet they rebuild. It took them 5 years, almost to 1950, so it was bombed in 1940. War was over in 1945. So by the time 1950, they were recovering. They had built buildings and became the seaport harbor in the world, the biggest. But they were able to rebuild. They were able to pick up the pieces. We are not able to do that right now. We cannot pick up the pieces. My hairstylist and, barber shops and our grocery stores, they're doing well. But gyms and bars and restaurants and other manufacturers, they're not doing so well. They're not even allowed to pick up the pieces. So Governor Wells, we need to have time to pick up the pieces, and not just our pieces of puzzles. Thankfully, families are getting together. lot of dinner time, a lot of prayer time, a lot of puzzles. But we need to get back to work for our economy in a safe and intelligent manner. And for those folks in my district said, Joe, follow the governor, keep the state shut down, stay at home, be safe. Yes, we will. We're not dumb people. We're very smart, and we can do this together. If we can keep our grocery stores and liquor stores and big box stores safe for people, then we can keep small town retail safe for people. So that's the message today, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I have on the list Jurgens, Haley, and Detmer. I think they're all in the hallway and have been kind of standing for some time. So I'm going to go to the folks who've been standing for a while. Representative Jurgens.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, over the last several weeks, we've all heard from our constituents. We've gotten hundreds of calls, emails, and in many cases, I've reached out to the governor's office, and I appreciate the responsiveness, getting back clarifications on who can work, who can go back to work, what jobs they're able to do, and I appreciate that. But this is the way to do it, or this is closer to the way to do it. 201 legislators closer to the people of Minnesota, closer to our constituents, those of us that they have our ear. Now, this is a jobs bill that helps. We've all heard from bars and restaurants in our communities. I've heard from Junction 70 in Cottage Grove, the Onion Grill and the Busted Nut in Hastings, and many others that are pleading for us to give them this bill, to give them the opportunity to sell beer and wine and takeout. This isn't going to be a make or break for them. It'll help. It'll help them a little bit with their cash flow. It'll help them be able to sell the product that they've already paid for, product that's been gathering dust for the last several weeks, some product that would expire if they're not able to sell this. When that happens, then that goes back in many cases to the distributor who takes a hit, and in some cases the distributor goes back to the brewery and they take a hit. This has impacts all up and down the supply chain. But it's not just bars and restaurants. I have an essential small business in my district where the husband and wife owners took out a personal loan so that they can increase the wages of their employees an additional $8 an hour just to compete with unemployment, just to keep them whole so that they will come back to work. The Lock and Dam Eatery in Hastings, they've been giving away hundreds of free lunches to kids. No questions asked, don't call ahead, just show up. Members of the community have pitched in, they've donated cash, potato chips, milk, bread, just to help out. The owners have said they'll do it as long as they're able to, because they want to give back to the community. And when we get beyond this, the community will remember that. This is a small step in the right direction. It helps one segment of business. I look forward to the point where more and more businesses are able to reopen. More and more businesses are able to call back their employees. More and more businesses are able to welcome customers back. And more businesses are able to provide jobs, much needed jobs for Minnesotans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Swedzinski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. You know, I just appreciate the work that's been put forward, Representative Koznick on this, and Representative Halverson for moving this small bill forward. You know, I'm reminded, you know, with social media, we get so many opportunities to see into people's lives in ways that you really wouldn't be able to see. And I was just looking at some social media posts of some business owners in my district and looking back on the last few weeks and what they've been doing. And there's one business up in Dawson called the Rusty Duck. I think he's a Rusty Duck. And he spent his time sanding and working on his floors and getting his restaurant back up to snuff because it's been used. It's been supported by his community. It's been successful. And you know, the opportunities of quiet to spend time with family and friends more than you would because they're home from school, or they're, sorry about that, or they're doing life. You know, that's what people have been doing. But you know, behind the scenes, I think we've all seen the posts of Facebook to say, I wish I was as successful, or I wish I was as good looking as my Facebook posts. And you know, I think that's a little true. Like where people are working and doing and showing things on Facebook and happy and smiles, there's a lot of folks that are hurting. And you know, we see it as state legislators. We see it by the phone calls we receive, the emails we get, and you know, whether you're a retailer, I just want my phone not to start ringing again, so I apologize for that. But you know, those are the things that we really are seeing out there, and I just want to thank those folks that are out there working and doing and trying to make by. We're doing the best we can. You know, we live in unprecedented times, but you know, we can take an aggressive approach. You know, what's maybe good for Hennepin County and Ramsey County maybe is not the best fit for Lackaparle or Redwood or Big Stone. And so, you know, I think we need to take some unique steps forward as we encourage the governor. You know, he doesn't have an easy job. It's easy to poke fingers and whatnot, but you know, at the same time, we have constituents that are going to lose their businesses, that are concerned about the statewide business property tax bill that's going to come due at some point. And Representative Marquardt's been working with us on potential things moving forward to delay that. But, you know, when you have a business that's been forced to close by state government and then yet asked to pay a state tax while they've been closed, that's a tough pill to swallow. And, you know, this is a small gesture to keep some of our bars and restaurants maybe a bit afloat, to keep a few folks on. But I'm sure you've talked to the tipped waiters and waitresses that normally have depended not necessarily on an hourly wage, but that wage of the generosity of their constituents that come in. Because just as we as constituents, as 40,000 people in the legislature, those waiters and waitresses, they have constituents too. And the better job they do, they get paid for it. And whether you're a restaurant owner or a small boutique in downtown Marshall, those taxes need to get paid and those people need to get paid. And we're losing sales, but we need to do the best job we can to get this back going. So members, I'll just close with a thank you for representing your districts, and let's get her open. Thanks.
Representative Haley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of House File 4489, and I want to thank Chair Halverson and Representative Koznick and Representative O'Driscoll for all their work on this bill that will support our restaurant owners during this crisis and hopefully help them keep more employees working. I'd like to take my floor time to speak to the importance of our small town businesses and the jobs that they support in our communities. When our COVID-19 mitigation started over a month ago, our primary focus was the health and safety of Minnesotans. The governor acted through a declaration of peacetime emergency and through the issuance of many executive orders. And I supported the governor. Many of us have been in support of the governor during this emergency. We needed time to understand the virus. We needed time to procure needed PPE. We needed time to develop a plan for our hospitals and to purchase more ventilators. We needed time, and the great people of Minnesota rallied and gave us time. They stayed home. They closed their businesses. They did what we asked them to do. They understood during this rare moment in history that they had to prioritize one goal over another: health and safety over their personal livelihoods. The shutdown, though, and the stay-at-home orders have come at a great cost and have been devastating to businesses, particularly small-town Main Street businesses. But based on the data from MDH and the modeling from the University of Minnesota and the governor's own modeling, now is time for a more nuanced approach. I believe we are at a point right now when we can both be principled in our duty to protect the health and safety of Minnesotans, and we also can be pragmatic in opening up our state and getting people back to work. This is not an either or, Governor. I believe it's a both and. I don't believe that we have to sacrifice the health and safety over our need to stand up our economy again. Now is the time to be both principled and pragmatic. I serve on the HHS Finance Committee, and yesterday we had a hearing to talk about testing. We heard from Mr. Scott Beck with Mayo Clinic Laboratories, Dr. William Maurice, the chair of Mayo Clinic Laboratories, and Dan Huff, the Assistant Commissioner of MDH, Dr. Jacob Toller, the Dean of the University of Minnesota Medical School, and Dr. Dan Hoodie, Chief Medical Officer with Hennepin Medical. What I heard yesterday gave me great hope and promise. We were told that Minnesota can do this. We can work together with these medical leaders to put a comprehensive testing plan in place. The time that we bought ourselves has worked, and Minnesota can now take care of our own communities. We are so fortunate to live in this state. I tell my children this every single night. We have some of the world's best medical care and some of the greatest research universities on this planet. We spawned the Minnesota Miracle years ago with our ingenuity and our perseverance. We can do this again. We can have the second Minnesota Miracle. We can prove to the nation and to ourselves that we can protect ourselves and our health through this virus, and we can also sustain our way of life through our large employers down to our small businesses and our Main Street shops, all of those folks that provide the jobs that support our families. My colleagues have talked about the emails and the phone calls and the texts that they've been getting. Hundreds, we're all responding, all of us, hundreds and hundreds a day and a week. I just took a look at my notes from yesterday. Frank from Malmquist, the small carpet place. I think most of us have been staring at the same walls. We're probably gonna want some new carpet when we come out of this. Jill with the consignment women's clothing store, who's got all her spring stock ready to sell. Eileen, the single mom, who has her hairstylist business in the basement of her home and serves one person at a time. Kyle, who owns Smoke and Oak and makes some of the best smoked ribs and chicken you'll ever have. But one thing I want to highlight was from a business owner, Bob Riggleman. His family-owned business for 75 years. The company's called Rydell Skates, and they employ 90 people in Red Wing. Rydell Skates has been closed because they fall under recreational. They actually make a lot of roller skates. 70% of their business is roller skates, and they sell those to a lot of places where people use them as their form of transportation. And Bob wrote to me. He said, in 75 years, I've never had to shut down. This is devastating, Barb. I am willing to do whatever it takes to open my business again. And he actually wrote a letter. And I want to read to you what he says because I think it lays out the start of a pretty sound plan. We will take the temperature of our employees daily to make sure no one is allowed to work with a temperature over 100. We will provide our employees with necessary PPE gear, including masks and gloves. We will provide ample social distancing for all employees so that they can do their work 6 feet apart. We will stagger breakfast and lunch times to provide our employees the correct social distancing during these times of the day. We will fully disinfect our break areas and lunchrooms after every break and lunch. We've already closed off our drinking fountains, and we provide bottled water to our employees. We have already put up signage reminding our employees to wash their hands frequently. We've already put out hand sanitizing stations throughout our building. And if there are any other workplace safety measures that need to be implemented in order to reopen, Mr. Governor, please let me know. I think Bob lays out a pretty good start for a plan to reopen Minnesota and get people back to work. It will take both the legislature and the executive branch. because our government is also not an either or. It's a both and. It will take us all to continue to work together. So, Mr. Governor, I stand ready to do that today, and I know many of my colleagues share my view. We want to get people back to work because the safety and security of Minnesotans is a combination of protecting their health and protecting their livelihoods. Let's get started. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Dean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I stand in support of Senate File 4489. Like many of you, I've received calls and emails from some of the businesses in my district, and this is just a little something to help them. We spent the past several weeks trying to address this crisis, and we've stepped up in a way that I think has surprised a lot of people. And I think it's probably even surprised a lot of us in this chamber. Our leadership and bipartisanship seem to have been pushed aside because this is something that's affecting all of us. And it's going to take the work of all of us to get through this. And we know that regular Minnesotans are sewing masks in their dining rooms. It seems that everybody that has a 3D printer is doing something to create face shields for those that are on our front lines fighting this pandemic. And we've stepped up with lots of resources, whether it's for our hospitals, our daycare, addressing issues of housing, food shelves, unemployment, aid to small businesses. We've responded really well. And it hasn't just been Minnesota, it's been the federal government, it's been our local governments as well that have stepped up. So I've been really encouraged by what's happened the past few weeks. We've come together to try to address this, and I think we've done a damn good job at it. And I know that a day will come where we'll have a new normal. It's not going to be the same as the past normal. We will eventually get there. And the work we're doing now is really trying to minimize that negative impact of COVID-19. However, there are many communities in our state, and many of them were struggling long before COVID-19 came to the state of Minnesota. And most of these communities are poorer communities, communities of color, people that have struggled with housing, people have struggled with employment income, people that have struggled with health care. And this is a crisis that's been going on for decades. And I believe that we can do a lot more to assist those communities. And I say that because what just happened has nearly affected every Minnesotan. And a lot of the things that happens in these communities like I represent, it doesn't affect all Minnesotans. It affects the community deep to the core, and sometimes it doesn't expand into other areas of the state. As I mentioned, we'll get back to a new normal. My hope is that we'll be able to come together bipartisanly, urban, rural parts of the state, to address these issues in these communities that have been going on for many decades. My fear is we'll come back to this new normal, and we're going to do the same thing we've been doing the past 5 or 6 decades. And those communities are going to continue to suffer. I ask all of my colleagues to remember where you're at today when you're pleading for your community and for the conditions in which people are finding themselves at many ways no fault of their own. You've all told really wonderful stories about the people in your district. I'll tell you a brief story. A year and a half ago, one of my neighbors was moving out of the house that she was renting next door. And I asked her, you know, you seem to enjoy the neighborhood, you interact well, why are you moving out? She said, it's my landlord. I said, she said, well, I fell behind in rent. She was a low-wage worker, and she had ended up in housing court. They had reached an agreement. She was meeting her obligation, but the landlord wanted her out. So he made her life difficult. So she was leaving a place where her and her 3 kids lived. And I asked her where she was going. And she said, well, I'm going to go stay with family and friends. And for those of you who know the plight of some individuals, that staying with family only works for a little while, especially when you have 3 kids. Staying with friends only works for a little while, especially after you have 3 kids. And I've lost track of her, but I would not be surprised if she's homeless today. And that's a mom with 3 kids, most of them under 12. And all I can think about is her difficulty in her housing was a couple $100s a month. Now, you calculate that over a few years, it adds up to a little bit of money. But what if one of her kids, who are growing up in homelessness, experiencing homelessness, end up getting involved in our criminal justice system? How much is that going to cost us? If they end up being convicted of a crime and end up serving time in one of our correction facilities in the state of Minnesota, that's $40,000 a year. But yet we couldn't find a couple $100s a month to help her and her family be stable so those kids could grow up and be incredible members of our community and our society. I just want you all to remember this when we do come back to a new normal, that it really does take all of us working together. And Madam Speaker and members, I want to thank you for this opportunity. It's been something that's been weighing on my mind a long time. We've found the money. We've found the things that we needed to do to address this crisis. I just hope in the future we'll be able to find the resources to help lift other people's lives when they're suffering as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Detmer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. As many of you know, I don't get up and speak a lot, but I stand also in support of Senate File 4489. But I do have a couple little stories from my area, in Forest Lake area. And, you know, a lot of us spend a lot of time on phones and also the Zoom conference calls and meetings. I have about 20 of them in the last couple of weeks. But when I talk to business people, small businesses people in my area, it really comes personally to me as a legislator. And every small business person that I spoke to, they know that they can get their people back to work and serve their communities in a way that's going to prioritize the health and safety of not only their employees, but also the people that come into their little shops. And they know that you just can't start everything, put it back just the way it was all at once, but it can happen eventually here in Minnesota. 2 little businesses that I would like to share about is Mike's Bait Shop on Highway 8. And we just found out today that the governor, his executive order 20-38, dealing with outdoor recreational activities, now he can open his shop up this Saturday, tomorrow, and sell fishing license and so forth and all of his bait. And I've been working with him for the last couple of weeks, getting him in touch with DEED and also the Department of Administration that puts together the list of essential businesses and workers. And so he's really grateful now that he's back, he can be back to work on tomorrow. And because if you take a look at what's been going on with the big box stores, they've been able to sell licenses and bait and so forth. They were never shut down. So Mike's Bait Shop on Highway 8 will be back on the job tomorrow. Another little business in the Forest Lake area is a business that produces boat ramps and also docks. It's called V-Docks. And he has a large building, and he only has 4 employees. And the closest that these employees can get to each other is when they carry 16-foot pieces of dock outside so the customers can pick them up. But he can't do that right now because he's a manufacturer. And hopefully, maybe the next executive order will put a business like this back on the job, because if you're a business that puts docks in, you can do your job. But if you're a business that manufactures docks, you can't. So that's something I hope that we can get a little business like that back together. And I'll leave with this. There's a lady in Schaefer, Minnesota. She's in her 80s, and she has my cell phone number. And when she has a concern, she calls me, and I listen. And she said, well, Representative Detmer, a person my age or a person that has health issues, that they should stay at home. But she says, somehow we need to safely get our young people back to work. And I said, I agree with you, but we have to do it safely. And I believe that the governor will be working on that. And then I also said that, she also said, we need to support our blood banks and our food shelves. So when you're talking to people out there, encourage them to get to the blood banks and also the food shelves. So with that, we'll vote green on this bill too. Thank you.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. I won't take long, but I rise in support of the bill. And I know that it's just a drop in the bucket, but it's a first attempt of the legislature to start beginning the process of reopening the economy and providing some relief to our small businesses. And so I'm grateful for this first step, and I just want to be a strong advocate for additional steps. And in that spirit, I just want to highlight a couple things that have been going on in my district. I am so proud of the hardworking, innovative people in 34A. And I know it's happening across the state. And I think that it's really important to highlight the hard work and innovation and effort of our small business owners who are trying to make it and stay afloat in these very trying times. So there's a restaurant in my district that had to close down, and they are very grateful for this bill that we're passing today. I've been in multiple conversations with them, and I just want to thank Chair Bernardi and Representative Koznick and everyone who worked on this, because it really will make a difference that they can use existing inventory to get some cash flow going. But they've made other improvements or changes in their business and how they operate in order to keep some more cash flow coming in. So they've switched to family-style meals, and when the shutdown was first ordered, they had a huge amount of perishable food in their restaurant, and they used all of that to make meals for families at a charity they support called Treehouse. And so they immediately, in the midst of great pain to them, turned what they had and gave it away. And I just think that's such a great story of the spirit of how these business owners are trying to make lemonade out of this situation. And to some of the comments some of my other colleagues have reflected on, this restaurant owner kept 14 employees on pay with a reduced wage just to keep them going. But then when the $600 additional payment came out from the federal government, they were making more on unemployment than what they had agreed to do to kind of everyone work together and share the sacrifice. So now he's let everyone go so they can stay home and make the more money on that program. And they really have pushed me, how come we can't tie that $600 to people who are working? And I sent emails to the White House. I'm trying to work on that. But there has to be a way we're incentivizing people to keep working if they can. And so I hope we can all collectively continue to think about that. I have another group restaurant in my district called the Daily Dose Cafe, also hard hit by this. They don't sell beer and wine, so this won't help them. But they took the innovative approach of creating a fund that anybody in the community can donate to. It's called Hospital Heroes. So people, instead of buying gift cards for themselves, people donate to the Hospital Heroes Fund, and then they send coffee and pastries and sandwiches over to the Maple Grove Hospital every day based on what has come in donations. And I'm so proud of them for finding a way to keep their own business going, but also helping our first responders. And then the Minnesota Play Cafe, they have done everything to try and keep their business afloat. It's a small mom in my district who took her whole life savings from her 401k 15 months ago and started this business. It's a darling little cafe where there's little playstations and moms can go get a fancy coffee and kids can play in these little areas. And they have started creating sensory bins that you can drive up and pick up, homemade Play-Doh, craft kits. They're doing everything imaginable to try and keep their business afloat. She said if she goes under, she is going to lose her whole life savings that she already put into this. And she has been rejected from the loan program. She already has 2 small business loans. She said even if I got a loan, I couldn't afford another payment. But yet they are just working so hard to keep their businesses alive. And one of the great stories about Minnesota Play Cafe is another business in my district, Granite City, had been giving out free meals to school kids already. So now every day they send 30 of their free meals over to the Minnesota Play Cafe to help drive more traffic to her business. And these stories of businesses helping each other, communities supporting each other, it just goes on and on. But I just so grateful for the innovation that's going on, the work ethic, the creativity. People are trying so hard to make it work. And this is just one small step, and I'm grateful we're doing it. But there is so much more we can do, members. And I am just asking you to continue. As they are working so hard and thinking creatively, we need to be doing the same. And so I will be working on a bill that will allow members to hopefully join with me in finding other creative ways people can still open their businesses, but do it safely and follow CDC guidelines. And I've also been working on a bill that provides grants for the very small businesses that I hope you will support. So these things are still coming. It's taken way too long to get them done, but I just encourage all of us to keep working to find these solutions for our small businesses. Thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it's really heartbreaking to hear a lot of these stories. And what's frustrating, I don't know if you're finding this or not, but I certainly am, is to get the emails and the phone calls and feel like there's really not a lot that we can do because of the executive orders and the different things that are in place. And they were put there to be helpful, to make people safe. And but we're learning more and more about this disease. We're learning more and more about how we can be safe and still operate. And so I hope that's what we will do moving forward. The governor made a good first step today with opening some outdoor recreation. I hope there's much more to come. And I wanted to thank the bill's author and the folks that worked on this bill for bringing this small step forward too. And I wanted to address some medical issues that are a result of this limit on what can be done. And I think a lot of physicians and people in the medical field are erring on the side of caution and not performing some procedures that maybe under this they might be able to. I think there could maybe be some more clarification on what physicians and clinics can do. I received an email last night from a woman, and her mother lives in my district, and her mother was scheduled to have hip replacement, and her mother's in excruciating pain. And so the executive order makes some exceptions for some of these procedures to be done, but one of the exceptions is not intolerable pain, or however you might describe that. And so that's one issue where, again, my hands feel like they're tied as far as trying to help this woman that's in pain. One other one that I received notification about was Botox treatments, injections for kids with cerebral palsy. They get tight and they have extreme pain, and their activities of daily living are really restricted without these Botox injections. And so that is a concern. Another example was a plastic surgeon that does surgery on women with breast cancer. And right now they can't operate on these women that have breast cancer to have it removed. And I hope that eventually here we can get to the place where we can slowly start up doing these procedures again based on PPE and safety, of course. But our hospitals and our healthcare facilities are really suffering. They're laying off even our first-line workers, our doctors and our nurses. So I'm hoping that the governor will look for ways that we can open up and do some more of these procedures in a safe way that are going to be helpful to the people that are most affected negatively by not being able to do something as like a Botox injection that I think could be done with a surgical mask, not an N95. So thank you again for all the stories. We are all in this together, and we urge the governor to take a scalpel approach to opening our economy back up in all sectors. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Before I start, I want to be perfectly clear about something. This legislature, the executive leadership in the state of Minnesota, and by all counts, the people of the state of Minnesota, did not go looking for COVID-19. COVID-19 found Minnesota, found the United States, and found many countries across the world. We have to deal with this. And what the state of Minnesota did, through the leadership of Governor Walz, was go to the University of Minnesota and ask the university to put together some scenarios. 6 different scenarios, and the legislature got a chance to look at those earlier this week. And the scenario that we're operating under right now in the state of Minnesota, shelter in place, all non-essential businesses shuttered. Essential businesses can operate. We needed a certain number of ICU beds in order to handle the anticipated number of illnesses and potential deaths as a result of this. That scenario showed 22,000 deaths. Right next to that scenario, scenario number 3 said an alternative would be to shelter in place those who have vulnerable or pre-existing conditions. Let the rest of Minnesota continue to do what they're doing, but observe social distancing and good practices like we're doing in those essential businesses. We coincidentally need the same number of ICU beds under that scenario. And the 22,000 anticipated deaths under scenario 4 are the same 22,000 deaths that are anticipated in the state of Minnesota under scenario 3. As I've had an opportunity this week to visit with people and to talk with folks in my district, I'm reminded that the people who own those Main Street businesses are families. And they are the first people in town to help out another family when they are in crisis. Whether their house burned down, whether there was a loss of a job, if it was an event that was happening at school, if it was a sponsorship of summer recreation activities, the list goes on and on of what those Main Street businesses do, not only in my community, but in everyone across the state's community. And they are looking to us right now as leaders in the state of Minnesota to help them move from being shuttered to being able to move and to open up. Without saying scenario number 3, Representative O'Driscoll, they're telling me, why can't we continue to do business like the essential businesses are? When I go into the Walgreens store in my community, I'm asked to stand on a blue dot 6 feet away from the next person in front of me. I'm smart enough to know that I'm not going to be any more or less likely to contract COVID-19 by standing on a blue dot in Walgreens versus standing on a blue dot or a red dot or a yellow dot or whatever color dot that Mackenzie's Boutique right across the street from the Walgreens who shuttered as a result of this could have. By supporting up-and-coming style people who would create jewelry, unique clothing, entrepreneurs in our district working with other entrepreneurs. It's time to move from scenario 4 to scenario 3 in the state of Minnesota. Some folks today have shared the issues that they've had with unemployment insurance. Earlier this week, I had the owner of a business that sells, services, auto and auto-related activities say, we were told we needed to shutter. We're now back able to do business, and we call our employees. They say, you know what, I'm making more on unemployment. Call me in 4 months when my unemployment is out, and I'm happy to come back. Can you just hold my job for that? We don't even know if they can hold the job, let alone hold the business because of where we're at. For the folks in that industry, it's time to move from scenario 4 to scenario 3. Let people be able to start getting into business, doing things in a responsible way. This morning, as I was making my way into the chamber, I was checking in with my LA, Doreen, and she said, Representative O'Driscoll, there was a kind of a heart-wrenching call that was left on your voicemail this morning. I just want to share it with you. If you get a chance today to talk about it on the House floor, you might want to mention it. The woman's name is Betty. And Betty was having some issues, and so she went to her doctor and she got a referral to a cardiologist. And the cardiologist began to do an evaluation. The cardiologist said, Betty, we think you've got some issues going here, but right now we can't not make a referral to do testing because we are considered optional, non-essential. And Betty said, but you just told me that I might have a heart-related activity that the medical clinic is telling me that they are not allowed to be able to test. I said, yeah, you can do it in 4 or 5 months. Betty's message to me was, this weighs on my head every day and on my mind. Even though it's considered optional, can be delayed, I have to live with that every day, not knowing what's going on in my chest. Folks, for people like Betty, for other businesses in the state of Minnesota, it's time to move from scenario number 4 to scenario number 3. Minnesotans have proven that they know how to do social distancing. Again, standing on a blue dot, a red dot, a yellow dot in various businesses doesn't make you more or less likely to contract COVID-19. Members, this bill that's in front of us is a small gesture to start moving us in that direction. And I am smart enough to know that if not without unanimous support of this chamber, it's going to be pretty darn close on this bill, because we all experience, Democrat, Republican, whatever district you come from, this is what Minnesotans need. Madam Speaker and members, without a doubt, I will be voting yes on this. I will be voting for a green dot to stand on today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Franson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Civil liberties do not end when fear begins. And for many, and across the state of Minnesota, that is what is happening. Civil liberties. Earning a living is a human right. There is dignity in providing for your family, keeping a roof over your head, and making sure your children have food to eat. There's also a cost to this. There's a human cost that's not readily being discussed, and that's the mental health aspect of all this. Stress is running high. Domestic abuse is up. Suicidal ideation is a thing. This is what keeps me awake at night. PTSD. This is going to be a long-lasting effect of what is happening in our state, in our country. The citizens of Minnesota want hope. They want to see hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and they don't see that right now. They were first informed that this was just going to take place. We're just going to close businesses down for time for our healthcare facilities to get the PPE they needed in order to deal with the influx of the COVID-19 patients. People said, okay, I can do this for my state. I can do this for my neighbors. I can do this for my family. And then the shelter-in-place order came. There was some fear, especially when the Tattletale hotline came into being. While this was all a suggestion, there was also a $1,000 fine and/or 90 days in jail if you were caught not paying attention or following the stay-at-home order. We have neighbors now that look upon other neighbors when there are too many people playing outside. Are those family members? Are they just friends getting together and they shouldn't be together? It's created a big distrust within communities. That hope turning to desperation, and what I fear is coming next in the next week, week and a half, will be despair. Our citizens want hope. They want to know that there is an end date. They want light at the end of the tunnel. Yesterday, Dennis, he's 79, he contacted me on my cell phone. Mary, you may not remember me, but I met you at a Caribou Coffee, and I do miss going to Caribou Coffee and chatting with my constituents. And we chatted, and I just have to get some things off my chest. Mary, I'm 79 years old. The governor has teamed up with the governor in Michigan. I see how the governor in Michigan is treating her constituents, and I'm concerned for what's going to happen to us. Mary, we need the economy going. Mary, what are you doing? How can I convince the governor to let everybody go back to work? We have closed down our churches. We're not allowed to practice one of our constitutional rights, our right to worship. The Holy Spirit has been closed off when we cannot commune together as a full body of Christ. The new temporary way of worshiping through the video just isn't the same for us Christians or those that worship. But liquor stores are allowed to be open. So we've replaced one spirit with another spirit to drown out the pain that many families are going through. Planned Parenthood is considered an essential business. We can end the life of an unborn child. But Devin, my neighbor's son, who fell this week, dislocated his shoulder, tore it, cannot have surgery. On Monday, I received a message from another lady, her name is Amber, wanting to know how I was going to vote on the resolutions. And I told her I was going to vote in favor. She left me a voicemail, crying, thanking me for that support, or for supporting that resolution, because she too feels that there is no end in sight. And she's a massage therapist. Her and her husband, they are running out of the resources they have to make sure that their family has food on the table. The unemployment system for the self-employed hasn't been put into place yet. The majority of the people that are contacting me, the independent contractors that would qualify under this program, are women. They have been negatively affected. My friend Nadine wants to get back as well, being a massage therapist. I've got hairstylists wondering when they too will be considered essential. Constituent here says, I'm writing to ask my representatives to stop what is going on in Minnesota. Please reopen businesses and the economy and help stop the stay-at-home order issued by Governor Walz. We are being bled to death in Alexandria, Minnesota. Enough is enough. We were told that the stay-at-home order was to give our state time to prepare our healthcare systems and hospitals for the supposed health epidemic. Now, 2 weeks later, all the models and projections Governor Walz shared with us have been inaccurate, and the data no longer supports this extending stay-at-home orders. Hospitals are empty, and even healthcare workers are laid off. If that is happening, then that tells me our state is as ready as we are able to be. Governor Walz always said the stay-at-home order would not stop the spread of the virus. Then why do we continue to have these stay-at-home orders if our state is medically prepared to deal with any spread of the virus? The cure is becoming worse than the disease. The long-term systematic effects of this, unemployment, poverty, alcoholism, drug abuse, domestic violence, etc., and of course the long-term effects in our own economy are going to be far outweigh any potential impacts of the virus itself. To date, there is nothing to suggest the impacts in rural Minnesota are even noteworthy. I understand the original due diligence to allow hospitals to prepare and flatten the curve, but that time has come and gone. It is time to move on with life. Another individual, the shelter in place is hurting many of the small business owners in rural America, the area you represent. I'd like to see you advocate for these hardworking Americans to get back to work and back to making an income and a life. The economic impact from being forced out of work unconstitutionally will be irreparable. Many of these small business owners are barely getting by as it is. I would advocate, instead of bailout monies being supplied, financial literacy classes and budgeting classes be offered. Many of our fellow Americans are lacking these skills today, and the pandemic is showing us how clearly these skills are needed, not only in our workforce, but in our own personal lives. And then there's a message from Representative O'Neill's district. Jessica from Buffalo writes, prior to the shutdown, we were sanitizing before and after every client, limiting the number of people in the salon, wearing gloves, and washing our hands more than ever. I have a state-of-the-art ventilation system that was pulling fresh air in and pushing old air out. We will be adding masks and even more precautions once allowed to reopen. Please don't forget about my small business salon and let us open. And then, right after the first, the business is closing, a lady that's a house cleaner reached out to me. She's in Representative Backer's district. She wanted to know about the unemployment. And I didn't have any information or to any of those self-employed people that was useful. Instead, I had to give them sad news that they did not qualify for any assistance. Last week, I saw her while grocery shopping, and she said, Mary, I reached out to you and you answered my email. I want you to know how much of a blessing you are to us. My friends, I walked into that grocery store in tears because I did not feel like I was a blessing to her or to any of my constituents as they are struggling with the stress, feeling despair, lack of hope. And all I'm able to do is direct them to the unemployment line and ask them to plead with our governor. Members, every single person in Minnesota is essential. We need each and every one of us contributing to our economy, to our society, so that Minnesota can continue to be strong. Thank you.
Representative Demuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity. It is a privilege to represent District 13A in the Cold Spring, Central Minnesota area. It is wonderful. I consider them some of the most resilient people, just like we're all seeing from our district. I do stand in support of Senate File 4489. I think this is another first step in the way to get businesses open and do what these businesses so need. I'm grateful for the businesses that have been opened, greenhouses, landscapers that we've seen in the last week. Those are helpful. But I have a list of other businesses that are not open or have been severely limited. The photographers, continued restaurants, the retail stores, the pet groomers, the house cleaners, and especially my resorts in my area too. They've really been struggling. They don't qualify for the deed assistance. The coffee shops. They have let me know that they are fully prepared to safely practice a social distancing and CDC guidelines. They just need to be given that chance. They've looked at the information that's been given and how can they best do that to keep both themselves as business owners, because when you're a business owner, that is becoming part of who you are, not just what you do. But they want to keep themselves, their employees safe, and their guests or their customers. But I want to leave with one great story. I always like to try to end on a better note, but I've got a business in my district in Paynesville, Staying Precision, and they make the mouth guards for the sports teams that are all over the state. I have 4 hockey players. My kids all played hockey. We went through a ton of mouth guards. Staying Precision right now had to shut down because mouth guards aren't needed when there's no sports. But they stepped up to the plate and assisted a business, Lakeview, in Representative Nash's district, who are making those PPE, those face shields. Staying Precision said, you know what, if you need help assembling those, we will partner with you and we want to help with that. Within 23 hours of finding out the need, they stepped in, they got 20 of their employees back, plus additional temporary employees, and they started making those face shields. They're on task right now to make over 150,000 of those face shields, assemble them this week. That is what Minnesota businesses are trying to do. They want to step up, they want to be part of the solution, but a number of those businesses that are still closed, they definitely need that chance to reopen so they can continue in the economy and what they need to do. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Lucero, for the purpose of giving a statement from Representative Hertaus.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Hertaus sent me a letter, an email that was forwarded to him from one of his constituents. And for those who may not be aware, who are watching on television, there are only a handful of members in the chamber at the moment, and so there are those that are on the phone that are not in a position to be able to share some of the experiences that their constituents are having to endure. So I appreciate, Madam Speaker, allowing me to read this email from Representative Hertaus's constituent. Dear Governor Walz, Commissioner Malcolm, and Commissioner Grove, my name is David Anderson, and I am an orthopedic surgeon with Twin Cities Orthopedics and Infinite Health Collaborative. I am writing to you with an urgent request, which I hope for the sake of all Minnesotans you will strongly consider. Please allow for the reopening of our healthcare facilities across the metro, so we may begin safely taking care of patients who desperately need us. I am writing to you with an urgent request, which I hope for the sake of all Minnesotans you will strongly consider. Please allow for the did I just read that one? Okay, next one, sorry. We have a grave concern that the current delay in essential medical services is causing long-term impact on patients and have observed multiple issues due to delays. Increased opioid drug use, prolonged pain leading to poor long-term outcomes, suicide attempts from patients who are dealing with severe pain and immobility, patient financial fears, especially loss of health insurance coverage due to recent job loss. Many patients who are on temporary furlough would like to pursue necessary medical care while they have ample time to recover and return to the workplace when COVID-19 allows. The good news is we have a plan focused on safety for our patients and employees. We can completely provide our own materials and would be ready to open within the next week. Our COVID-19 safety strategy at TCO includes rapid response COVID-19 testing on all surgical patients, antibody tests for our providers and employees, judicious management of PPE, protocols which will be continuously vetted by clinical and industry experts, including the state's finest infectious disease physicians. We as physicians believe we can open and provide care safely for our patients and employees. It's time to bring thousands of healthcare professionals back to work safely and take care of people who need us more than ever. Thank you for consideration. And members, I highlight this email that Representative Hertaus forwarded because, again, it demonstrates the ingenuity of business owners across our state. Rather than the state believing that they have the best and only ability to make decisions, we need to empower our small business owners so that they can take the necessary actions to provide care for Minnesotans and whatever business they might be in, while at the same time doing so safely. We can trust them. And Madam Speaker, I have one last that I forgot to mention an example from my own constituent. And this just breaks my heart, and it was reminded me of a text thread that I had with one of the salon business owners in my district. Please help. I'm not sure what I can do. I will lose the building. She wrote me a couple weeks back when she was first closed. Several days go by. Thank you for calling me the other night in my time of meltdown. Since then, I have been talking to other business owners and their staff, trying to help as much as possible. Somehow helping them makes me feel better in my situation. Several days go by as she's continuing to desperately get assistance in this time of crisis for her and her staff that depend upon her. And then I receive this text from her. I'm throwing in the towel. Do you know anyone who wants a building? Members, this is crushing to the heart. It's crushing to the spirit. And she is somebody she's a longtime member of my community and has been in business for a long time. Just crushing. Members, we can and should do better. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. Obviously, there's a lot of stories to share, and people want to be heard. But remember, this bill before us is about jobs and people. I recognize that wine and beer to go is not our most pressing issue, but protecting jobs, family budgets, the state economy in a safe and healthy manner is our priority. According to the Department of Employment and Economic Development, 18% of the unemployment claims are in the food preparation and service industry. 18%. That's 81,721 people as of yesterday morning. Currently, we have over 451,790 citizens who have applied for unemployment. That would fill US Bank Stadium 6.5 times. We have an economic urgency and need to pass this bill and others to provide relief for our restaurants and related businesses, for those who have poured their blood, their sweat, and as you've heard, even more tears into nourishing and serving us. These establishments are the meeting places in our communities that create and support our communities. Wine and Beer to Go is just the first step to reopen more and more of our jobs and economy. And I appreciated the discussion from the public yesterday with Chair Halverson and members of the Commerce Committee, and the recognition and willingness to bring forth more proposals. And most pointedly, I agree with Chair David's statement. We need to get more people back to work now. And not surprisingly, he would probably agree with me. He's right again. I don't know if it's just me or this issue, but Minnesotans are frustrated. They're angry and disappointed and even pissed off. I want to apologize to some and acknowledge that, yes, we need to open our state more with respect to the health concerns, but we do need to open with common sense and compassion for the workers and the employers and the job creators. You are right. We need to remove more regulation and barriers and open more. And today, we take the first, but a big and important step to let Minnesotans know that we hear you. Reopen. Today, this body, in a bipartisan bill, is listening. The legislature is listening. And we want to take back our responsibility to work with the executive branch and rebuild our state. I also need to share how proud I am and thank all the workers and employers in Lakeville. Minnesotans have been doing their part. There is a couple, Ken and Karen, who operate a chemical company and switched their operations to make and donate over 500 gallons of hand sanitizer to distribute to the police, fire, hospitals, stores, and even more. I even took some to Representative Bennett for her to deliver to police departments in southern Minnesota. We have some other constituent friends who operate a restaurant in Rosemont. And Jennifer told me they thought about closing and we're waiting it out. But they are now working harder than ever and decided to stay open to keep providing for their employees' families. And on top of that, they are donating lunches to school kids. And last night, I picked up a pizza from a great local place. And the owners told me that they're struggling financially with the loss of wine and beer and spirits revenue. They had to let most of their employees go. And now they're doing most of the work themselves, busting their humps night and day, and even sleeping on an air mattress in the back of the store because they're too tired to go home and working so hard. This bill is to hopefully preserve the businesses and hopefully rehire some of the staff that's been let go. These are workers like Ann, who's a teacher in one of the other restaurants in Lakeville. And she, on weekends, picks up a few shifts as a server to help her family save for her kids' future education. And then the college students that are also without extra income that serve tables to help pay tuition. Minnesotans have been great in supporting the curbside efforts of our restaurants. Please keep it up. It supports your neighbors and it supports your community. We have so many of these stories, but I have hope. Yesterday, I got a text message in the family text chain that one of my kids' favorite restaurants is opening up today. Sawa Japan. My daughters, Claire and Carly, like all our kids, have been cooped up at home. Away from their friends, and celebrated a birthday without them. but they haven't complained too much. And I think this weekend, we'll go get some Lakeville rolls from Sawa Japan and the owner Jojo to celebrate. And members, I thank you for your support and your time today. I know we all had a lot to say, and I thank you, Madam Speaker, for your indulgence. But it's time to reopen Minnesota, and hopefully on Saturday, you can get a bottle of wine and some beer with those Lakeville rolls from Jojo at Sawa Japan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members.
The member from Dakota, the author of the bill, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've had a long conversation here. Very little of it has been about the bill and the substance of the bill. It makes me think that it's a good idea and that it's well crafted. So, but I do have to say that the conversation today and the conversation that I heard on the floor earlier this week is extremely concerning, because today Minnesota saw its largest report of the death toll from COVID-19. Today we heard that there were 17 new deaths in the state of Minnesota. These are somebody's sister or brother, somebody's mother or father, somebody's grandparent, somebody's child. We are not staying at home, Minnesotans. Minnesotans aren't staying at home because of an executive order. Minnesotans are staying at home because of an insidious and deadly virus that is sweeping the nation and sweeping the world. It's a new virus. It's novel coronavirus. That's new. Back in December, nobody knew that this was a thing. Nobody knew the risk. By January, our country was starting to see that we were going to be at risk for a worldwide global pandemic. And we had to start having some really hard conversations about what that meant to protect the people of our country and the people of our state. And it meant that everybody got together, and Minnesotans, I think we have a lot to be proud of, because we overachieve at everything, even staying home. Our rates of staying home, our ability to try to flatten this curve are showing tremendous progress and promise. But because today we saw the largest reported death count, because today we went over 2,000 deaths in the state of Minnesota, our fight isn't over. And Minnesotans know this. Minnesotans are staying home, and prior to the stay-at-home order, restaurants and bars in Minnesota saw a 73% decrease in business prior to the stay-at-home order, because Minnesotans were staying at home to protect themselves and protect their loved ones. Minnesotans were staying at home to protect those who are on the front lines. I don't know about you, but my family has reduced the number of times we go to the grocery store tremendously. One person goes in a mask to protect those frontline workers who show up to serve their customers, show up for their employer, and show up because they need their paychecks. Minnesotans' lives are certainly on the line, and Minnesotans' economic lives are on the line. And the beauty is, a lot of folks have stepped up to help one another. I've heard a lot today about how proud we are of the people of our state, and you couldn't be more right. And the people of our state are being very deliberate about making sure they're finding ways to patronize local businesses. There are lists of restaurants out there that sprung up that are doing takeout orders, and people are being very deliberate about patronizing their local restaurants. Last night, I was at a local restaurant to pick up some food for my family, and the worker at that restaurant was coming in and out with the takeout orders without working so hard, and her mom was there to pick her up. She was clearly a young gal, and her mom was there to pick her up, and she said to her mom, "It'll be a while, Mom. I've got to work late." because she was working so hard and there were so many people ordering from that restaurant. And she did it with a smile on her face and such great customer service. Her boss can be very proud of hiring her. And yet, when she's doing her job, she's being crowded by others who aren't masked, saying, "Where's mine? Where's mine? Where's mine?" And she's doing everything she can to move away from them. And so we need to make sure that we continue to respect each other's 6 feet boundaries, and we still need to be adhering to those guidelines. We need to be adhering to those guidelines here in the chamber, and that's why our speaker sends out regular reminders of how we need to social distance here. This is why, as one of our members said, lots of our folks are participating on the phone right now because we're protecting one another, and most importantly, we're protecting the staff that show up here to make sure that the work of the people is done and it's visible and that it's recorded as it's supposed to be. If they're here, if we're here, they're here. And they're here before us and they're here after us. So Minnesotans, we know how hardworking they are. And Minnesotans have a great desire to help one another, to protect the health and safety of one another, to support their healthcare workers. Another great initiative that I've been participating in my community has been the Feed a Nurse initiative, where there's a nonprofit that's raising money and going around and supporting local restaurants by buying up vast quantities of meals and delivering them to our healthcare workers who are on the front lines, with inadequate PPE. This fight isn't over. I saw an article of a Minnesota hospital that is trying to figure out ways to re-sterilize their masks and clean their masks because healthcare workers don't get to change masks from patient to patient to patient. They have to reuse them because there's not enough. They can't gown and glove every time they need to because there's not enough. They're using inadequate mask coverings. They don't all have the respirator masks. And guess what they're doing? They're doing it anyway. They're reusing those masks, they're using inadequate protection, and they're taking care of patients in our emergency rooms, in our urgent cares, because that is their calling. And I'm very, very grateful that they are doing this work, and I've talked to a number of them who have talked about their own fears for their families. Talk to healthcare providers who have made themselves a home in a garage or an RV or somewhere else, so they are not coming in contact with their family and children. They don't get to hug their kids at the end of the day when they come home from work because they're afraid they're carrying the disease. And we know a little bit about this disease. We don't know everything about this disease. And the brightest minds and the brightest scientists are continuing to figure it out and continuing to give us new information. But we know that almost 20% of people don't show any symptoms, and they walk around shedding the virus and putting other people at risk. So the fight isn't over, and I don't want us to say the fight is over. I don't want Minnesotans to get a message that somehow they don't need to protect one another. They don't need to protect themselves. They don't need to protect their kids. They don't need to protect their aging parents. And the other thing I will absolutely say is I have heard, not today, but I heard previously, that, yeah, some people are dying, but they're the people with pre-existing conditions, but they're people with obesity, but they are not expendable. They are people's loved ones. They are people's loved ones who are being snatched from them. A woman in Minnesota actually dropped her husband off at an emergency department, couldn't go in with him. He was having shortness of breath and COVID symptoms. He went in, he was admitted to the hospital, and he died. He died alone. She didn't know she was saying goodbye forever to her spouse. And these are the best of circumstances because Minnesotans are doing everything they can right now to protect one another. The thought that we are somehow not going to stay committed to each other as we face a disease like none we've seen in our lifetimes. As people that we know have to say goodbye to their loved ones without getting to hold their hands or give them a hug. As healthcare workers are going to work every single day, today, with inadequate protective gear. And they know what that means. They know they're putting themselves on the line. National infection rates for healthcare workers are far too high. And it's for one reason. They don't have the equipment they need to keep themselves safe. Until they do, and until we start seeing Minnesotans' death rates drop and disease rates drop, and make no mistake, these are death rates that are actual tested COVID. The myth that somehow people are making up death certificate data is absolutely wrong. Our fine doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals, nurses' aides, housekeeping staff who are cleaning, deserve to stay safe at work while they're saving lives and while they're keeping the rest of us safe. That's why we got into this fight with COVID, friends. We got into the fight with COVID because Minnesotans care about one another. And Minnesotans care about the businesses that are in our districts as well, and the love for our small businesses that I'm seeing, and the love from our small businesses that I'm seeing. How lucky are we? How lucky are we that we have the kind of dedication, ingenuity, and integrity that our small businesses are demonstrating by serving customers, trying to keep their customers safe, by sharing what they have with others. We're very lucky in Minnesota. And we're very lucky that we have a state that is strong and will continue to fight this dreaded disease. And we will do it logically, thoughtfully, with information, and we will do it together. And sometimes that means we're going to come together and make some changes along the way. And this bill is one of those changes. And I'm very happy to be able to have had wonderful bipartisan support to give a little bit of relief to a very important segment of our economy. Thank you, Minnesota. Thank you to our restaurants and bars that are continuing to feed us and care for us. And thank you for the leadership to make sure that we do everything we can to fight COVID and come out as a strong, healthy, economically viable state. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Isanti, the Minority Leader, Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Thank you for the impassioned speeches about how this is affecting people in your districts. I wasn't planning to speak. I had told the Speaker that I wasn't going to. But after that, I just couldn't let that be the last word. I didn't hear a single member in my caucus say that we didn't need to protect people. I think everybody understands the severity of this virus and what could happen if we go right back to shaking hands and hugging and all the things we do in our normal lives. I think Minnesotans have learned very well how to respect that 6-foot distance. And as many of the members who spoke said, they can't figure out why at Walmart we can stay 6 feet away, but at Bob's hardware store, we can't. It's a bad example. I think hardware stores are open, but a store that sells all of the same things that Walmart sells, that are closed all across the state. And what I hear people saying is,
We think we can keep people safe, and we think we can do it while restarting our economy safely. And there are a lot of people hurting around the state because of our economy right now. I have seen a few people post on Facebook, has anyone met anybody or does anybody know anybody who has COVID-19? And I don't think I've seen anybody yet say, yes, I do know somebody. I met my first one today, on my way in here, in this building. I think we know that there's been a few people who work around the Capitol, and one of those people is someone who helps keep us safe here at the Capitol. And I didn't know, but I will never pass somebody in a uniform at this Capitol or somebody who works to keep us safe at this Capitol without saying hello or thanking them for what they do, because I so appreciate what they do for us here. And so I was moving past this person and I stopped and said, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. It's kind of weird to not be around here and not see you. And he said, well, I'm doing a lot better. And I said, were you the one? And he said, yes. So I talked to him for probably 10 minutes and asked every little detail. I wanted to know how it was and what happened and what his experience was and when he got tested and how that went and how his recovery was and what his symptoms were and how that impacted him. And his wife got it as well. He told me he spent 5 or 6 days in bed at home, told me about the symptoms. He had some slight respiratory, maybe not as bad as others, and we know that this can be very serious. I'm not trying to minimize this in any way. And his wife got symptoms. She did not have the respiratory, but talked about headaches for both of them, losing the sense of smell and the sense of taste, spending, as I said, about 6 days in bed, and then slowly recovered. And then once he had 72 hours without symptoms, he was allowed to return back to work. But it was kind of interesting to me. I think there is a fear of this virus, and I think that fear is justified. This has a much higher mortality rate than the flu. I remember early on many people were saying, this is just the flu. I think we all know it's not just the flu. I don't know the statistics, somewhere between probably 30 and 100 times more lethal than the flu. And so we do need to be careful, and we are. Look at us in the chamber. The speaker made a comment to me earlier that I think, and I agree with her, I think we're doing the best we have yet at social distancing here in the chamber today. Because we, just like Minnesotans all across the state, are learning how to do this. It's funny, when I went to Costco yesterday because I needed a few things, and even people in Costco, and Costco is a fairly crowded store sometimes. I think they're metering the number of people they allow into the store right now. That's the sense I got at the door. There wasn't too many in when I walked in, so I didn't have to wait or anything, but I could see people there, and I assumed that's what they were doing. But people in the store, if they sensed that you were gonna walk that way and they were coming from this way, they would wait, or I would wait, and we would leave that 6-foot distance. Minnesotans accept that right now, that's the temporary normal that we're gonna have for a little while until this thing is defeated. But it doesn't mean that we can't continue on with our lives and that we can't start to reopen the economy. Oh, and by the way, we're not suggesting to do anything that the governor hasn't suggested himself. I was on a call with him last night where he talked about what sorts of things they're doing to reopen our economy. That's what we're talking about, reopening our economy. This morning he announced that outdoor activities, golf courses, things like that are going to reopen. He told us that next week we should expect some additional announcements about businesses being allowed to reopen. When we can come up with safe procedures so that not only are we keeping people safe, so that employees feel safe, like there's a plan when they go back to work. But believe me, Minnesotans are ready to do that. Minnesotans are ready to keep each other safe. And I didn't want to stand up and talk, but I didn't want anybody at home to believe that there's anybody in this chamber that doesn't want to keep people safe or suggests that we don't need to or we need to stop doing that. I think Representative Haley said it best when she said, it isn't an either or, it's a both and. We can do both, open our businesses and keep people safe. And Minnesotans are ready to do that. So I just wanted to stand and make that clarifying point. And I support the bill. I appreciate Representative Koznick and Representative Halverson and Representative O'Driscoll and all the others who put work into this. This is such a small thing that we're allowing. And it's kind of a weird thing. I'm sure people, 3 months ago would have said, are we going to allow people to take, beer to go with them when they leave a restaurant? It's nothing any of us would have ever thought of. But you know what? We're thinking outside the box because we want to provide the littlest bit of help for the people who are running restaurants right now. I know the statistic is that 78% of Minnesotans or something like that are essential. And technically, restaurants are allowed to stay open. But they're not open with their full staff of employees. They're open only for takeout. And they've laid off most of their staff. Many of them are not open, and they've laid off all of their staff. 400,000 some odd Minnesotans applied for unemployment. 400,000? We forget about that. I brought up to the governor last night on the phone, a cousin of mine has a son-in-law who's a dentist in a small town, actually in Sandra Erickson's district. But he called me on my cell phone and said, hey, I just want to tell you my story. Because we keep hearing about business after business that's been ordered to shut down. Here's my twist. He said, I've been ordered to stay open, but I've been ordered not to see my patients that actually pay the bills. I can see emergency patients, but I think we all know that it's the teeth cleaning and the regular routine appointments that are the ones that pay the bill because they happen every 20 or 30 minutes. And the dentist goes from one room to another, to another, to another to see those patients. They're not billing for any of those hours right now. And he's paying his staff and staying open to see just a handful of people a week. And he said, this cannot continue. We've got to figure something out. He's very happy to provide those emergency dental services to people that need them, but he's worried about his business. And he said he is weeks away from bankruptcy and closing his doors. And he's a rural dentist, and we cannot afford to lose rural dentists. It's one thing when you live in the suburbs and you have 20 different options within a 15-minute drive of where you live to go to the dentist. But in rural Minnesota, if a dentist closes in your community, you might have to drive an hour to get to the next closest dentist. We need to make sure that we think about all these people and the damage that this is doing to our economy. And as soon as we can open up safely, we need to do it. And I see the light on the horizon. I see that light at the end of the tunnel. Not that we're getting through COVID, that people have gotten used to and are figuring out how to social distance, and that we can go back to work safely. Businesses have been creative and have come up with their own solutions to keep distance and make sure that we're absolutely minimizing the spread of this virus. Congratulations, Minnesota. You have done it probably better than anybody else in the country. That's something we should be proud of. But it also tells us and informs us that we're ready to start reopening our economy. We took the test. We've learned how to do it. Now let's take the next step before we do permanent damage to more small businesses, to more rural doctors and dentists, to more barbers and hairstylists that won't come back from this. The recovery from this, once the virus is gone, it's going to be gone, right? I mean, there might be a second phase or a third phase, but it'll be gone. It will be gone. But we may be recovering from the economic impact of this for years. And the longer we wait to open our businesses when we can do it safely, the longer we wait, the worse and the longer that economic recovery will be. I'm afraid of the decisions we're going to have to make next year here at the Capitol when we see what our revenues look like and the deficit that we're likely facing. Because businesses that are not open are not collecting sales tax, they're not employing people who pay income tax, and those are the two biggest sources of revenue for our state. And we provide a lot of needed services for a lot of Minnesotans, and we're gonna have to make some really tough decisions. So just think about the people next year who will be hurt if we extend this shutdown and extend these business closings longer. Because the longer we go on and prevent people from safely running their businesses, the less people we're going to be able to help next year with the services that we provide. I think Minnesotans are ready. So let's let them open their businesses safely. Thank you.
The member from Hennepin, the Majority Leader, Representative Winkler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members who are here. And I do appreciate much of the balanced rhetoric that we heard today on this bill. Obviously, we're just debating a much broader issue than liquor to go, and this is a forum for open debate, and I appreciate the way that we conducted it today for the most part. I do think the emphasis on safety and considering how we can operate more safely and eliminate some of the arbitrary differences between how different businesses operate is an entirely useful way for us to spend our time. Our members have been doing the same thing. They've been working directly with businesses in their districts. The letter Representative Lucero read from Representative Hertaus was actually developed by Representative Edelson and Edina with Twin Cities Orthopedics, and they're meeting with the governor at 3 o'clock today to talk about that very issue. Members from all parts of the state, all walks of life, are advocating on behalf of the people in their district and looking at the effect of this issue. Representative Tabke has been working with Bill's Toggery in downtown Shakopee, who doesn't understand why they can't sell shirts like Walmart can sell shirts. And Representative Eklund is wondering why people can't stay at a resort if they drive up to Rainy Lake to go fishing. These are very important issues, and we are all working on them. And I think it's encouraging in a week where we saw a lot of misinformation being thrown around a little bit earlier this week, that we're returning on Friday to a point in time where we recognize that we have to balance the health and safety of the people of the state with our economic activity. There is a balance at some point. But I think it is important to remember that this is far from the beginning of the end. And I guess this is a Churchill quote. He said, this is not the end, this isn't the beginning of the end, but this might be the end of the beginning. We are only on the front end of the financial hardship that this germ is going to cause, this virus is going to cause. And the consumers who drive the economy in the state, consumers are 2/3 of the economy of the country. They are still worried about this. 2/3 of Americans are more concerned about opening too early than they are about waiting too long to open up. Restaurant revenues were way down before the stay-at-home order because people were afraid and were following good public health guidelines. That's going to continue to be an issue. So I don't want us to mislead the public or to mislead the business community or our local communities that reopening is somehow going to change all of this. Reopening is not going to be nearly enough. Opening safely, both and, is not nearly enough. I've spent quite a bit of time in the last couple of weeks talking to various groups about how this crisis is affecting the work that they do. I talked with doctors yesterday who said that the time that they've had to prepare and gather PPE and get ICU beds ready has been valuable, but now they're essentially waiting in hospitals that are at limited capacity because patients aren't even coming in for the things they should be coming in for. They're concerned about showing up. I've talked to public employees, nonprofit leaders, community organizations in my district and around the metropolitan region, healthcare workers, peace and police officers, people in the arts, job training organizations, housing developers, and the message is the same at all of them, which is we are doing the best we can now, but this is something that we cannot sustain over the long run. And just opening the doors of businesses, small retail businesses, is not going to change that. This is a major economic disruption. One of the things that we could be doing is providing $100 million in housing assistance that helps both landlords and tenants, so that as people come out of this period of unemployment or reduced employment or reduced hours, they actually have a home to go home to afterwards. Keeping people in their homes, keeping the housing stock steady, keeping the housing market steady will allow us to recover more quickly, and it's a role for state government. The same is to provide emergency resources for people on MFIP, because those families are also hard hit by these circumstances. Keeping in mind that people who are middle and lower income will spend all the money that they get, the more things that we can do to keep those people consumers in the marketplace will help all of the businesses that you've described continue to operate. So we really need to think not just about how to go from where we are today, which is the scramble and action to get things closed down as quickly as possible is over. We're now looking at some of the arbitrary impacts of that and trying to correct them. That's good. We will need to continue to do that and operate safely, as we've described, but the task in front of us remains enormous. And so I am heartened that we have shifted the rhetoric at the end of this week back to focus on both preserving the health and safety of Minnesotans, and that we are focused on doing so based on science, based on the people who do this public health work for a living every day, and not based on a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of opinions based on data that they choose to support their opinion. And as balanced and positive as this conversation is today in the floor of the House, right now there are hundreds of people gathered outside the governor's residence wearing red hats and red t-shirts, not socially distancing, not covering with masks, and turning this into a political spectacle and saying we just need to reopen the economy. That is dangerous. That is reckless and dangerous. And so I hope that we can continue next week to do the work of the people in this House, that we will continue to represent all of Minnesotans in state government, that we will work across party lines, we will work with the administration, we will work with the Senate, and we will be responsible leaders who are doing the right thing for the state. We cannot allow the dangerous and reckless voices to overwhelm our discussion of what needs to happen for the people of Minnesota, and so I hope we have more days like today in the weeks ahead. I would ask for a yes vote on the bill.
Right, the clerk will call the roll. For those who are on the phone, it'll take just a minute for us to get set up here in the chamber to receive your vote. When the clerk calls your name, please repeat your name and then state your vote.
Acom.
Acom, aye.
Acom, aye. Albright.
Albright, aye.
Albright, aye. Anderson.
Anderson, aye.
Anderson, aye. Backer.
Backer, aye.
Backer, aye. Bonner.
Bonner, aye.
Bonner, aye. Barr. Aye. Barr, aye. Baker.
Baker, aye.
Baker, aye. Becker Finn.
Becker Finn, aye.
Becker Finn, aye. Bennett.
Bennett, aye.
Bennett, aye. Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Bierman.
Bierman, aye.
Bierman, aye. Bow.
Bow, aye.
Bow, aye. Brand.
Brand, aye.
Brand, aye. Cantrell.
Cantrell, aye.
Cantrell, aye. Carlson, A.
Carlson, A, aye.
Carlson, A. Aye. Carlson, L.
Carlson, L, aye.
Carlson, L. Aye. Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Claflin.
Claflin, aye.
Claflin, aye. Considine.
Considine, aye.
Considine, aye. Daniels.
Daniels, aye.
Daniels, aye. Doubt. Doubt, aye. Davids. Davids, aye. Davney. Davney.
Daphne, aye.
Davnie, aye. Dean. Dean, aye. Damath. Damath, aye. Detmer.
Detmer, aye.
Detmer, aye. Drazkowski.
Drazkowski, aye.
Drazkowski, aye. Eklund.
Eklund, aye.
Eklund, aye. Edelson.
Edelson, aye.
Edelson, aye. Elkins.
Elkins, aye.
Elkins, aye. Erickson.
Erickson, aye.
Erickson, aye. Fabian.
Fabian, aye.
Fabian, aye. Fisher.
Fisher, aye.
Fisher, aye. Franson. Franson. Freiberg.
Branson votes yes.
Franson, aye. Freiberg.
Freiberg, aye.
Freiberg, aye. Garofalo.
Garofalo, aye.
Garofalo, aye. Gomez. Gomez. Green.
Green, aye.
Green, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Gunther.
Gunther, aye.
Gunther, aye. Haley.
Haley, aye.
Haley, aye. Halverson. Halverson, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hanson.
Hanson, aye.
Hanson, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Heinrich.
Heinrich, aye.
Heinrich, aye. Heinzman.
Heinzman, aye.
Heinzman, aye. Herr.
Her, aye.
Herr, aye. Hertas.
Hertas votes aye.
Hertas, aye. Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, aye. Howard.
Howard, aye.
Howard, aye. Hewitt.
Hewitt, aye.
Hewitt, aye. Johnson. Johnson, aye. Jordan.
Jordan, aye.
Jordan, aye. Jurgens.
Jurgens, aye.
Jurgens, aye. Keel.
Keel, aye.
Keel, aye. Cleavorn.
Cleavorn, aye.
Cleavorn, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Katiza Watun.
Katiza Watun, aye.
Katiza Watun, aye. Kosnick. Kosnick, aye. Kresha.
Kresha, aye.
Kresha, aye. Kunish Podine.
Kunish Podine, aye.
Kunish Podine, aye. Lehman.
Lehman, aye.
Lehman, aye. Lee.
Lee, aye.
Lee, aye. Lesh.
Lesh, aye.
Lesh, aye. Liebling.
Liebling, aye.
Liebling, aye. Lean.
Lean, aye.
Lean, aye. Lilly. Lilly, aye. Lippert.
Lippert, aye.
Lippert, aye. Lislagard.
Lislagard, aye.
Lislagard, aye. Long.
Long, aye.
Long, aye. Lucero. Lucero, aye. Lewick.
Louis, aye.
Lewick, aye. Mahoney.
Mahoney, no.
Mahoney, no. Mann.
Man votes aye.
Mann, aye. Mariani.
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye. Markwart.
Markwart, aye.
Markwart, aye. Mason.
Mason, aye.
Mason, aye. McDonald. McDonald, aye. Meckland.
Meckland, aye.
Meckland, aye. Miller. Miller, aye. Moeller.
Moeller, aye.
Moeller, aye. Moran.
Moran, aye.
Moran, aye. Morrison.
Morrison, aye.
Morrison, aye. Munson.
Aye.
Munson, aye. Murphy.
Murphy, aye.
Murphy, aye. Nash. Nash, aye. Nelson M.
Nelson M, aye.
Nelson M, aye. Nelson N.
Nelson N, aye.
Nelson N, aye. New.
New, aye.
New, aye. Nor.
Nor, aye.
Nor, aye. Nornis.
Nornis, aye.
Nornis, aye. Novotny.
Novotny, aye.
Novotny, aye. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll, aye. Olson.
Olson, aye.
Olson, aye. O'Neill.
O'Neill, aye.
O'Neill, aye. Pulowski.
Pulowski, aye.
Pulowski, aye. Purcell.
Purcell, aye.
Purcell, aye. Petersburg.
Petersburg, aye.
Petersburg, aye. Pearson.
Pearson, aye.
Pearson, aye. Pinto.
Pinto, aye.
Pinto, aye. Poppy.
Poppy, aye.
Poppy, aye. Poston.
Poston, aye.
Poston, aye. Pryor.
Pryor, aye.
Pryor, aye. Quam. Quam.
Quam, aye.
Quam, aye. Richardson.
Richardson, aye.
Richardson, aye. Robbins. Robbins, aye. Runbeck.
Runback, aye.
Runbeck, aye. Sandell.
Sandell, aye.
Sandell, aye. Sandsted.
Sandsted, aye.
Sandsted, aye. Sauk.
Sauk, aye.
Sauk, aye. Schumacher.
Schumacher, aye.
Schumacher, aye. Schultz.
Schultz, aye.
Schultz, aye. Scott. Scott, aye. Stevenson.
Stevenson, aye.
Stevenson, aye. Sundin.
Sundin, aye.
Sundin, aye. Swazinski. Swazinski, aye. Tabke.
Tabke, aye.
Tabke, aye. Tice.
Tice, aye.
Tice, aye. Torkelson.
Torkelson, aye.
Torkelson, aye. Erdahl.
Erdahl, aye.
Erdahl, aye. Vang.
Vang, aye.
Vang, aye. Vogel.
Vogel, aye.
Vogel, aye. Wagenius.
Wagenius, aye.
Wagenius, aye. Wozlowick.
Wozlowick, aye.
Wozlowick, aye. West.
West, aye.
West, aye. Winkler. Winkler, aye. Wolgamott.
Wolgamott, aye.
Wolgamott, aye. Zhang Jie. Zhang Jie. Zhang Ti.
Young T, aye.
Zhang Ti, aye. Joachim.
Joachim, aye.
Joachim, aye. Speaker Hortman. Speaker Hortman, aye. Okay, just one, Sean G. Ready? Zhang Jie. Zhang Jie.
There being 129 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.